This is the Tofu 2.0. I begged, pleaded, got on my knees, shed some tears, but I could not get them to release an e-yellow Tofu 2.0 yet. But we must keep trying. Today we have the next best color, red. The Tofu 2.0 is hot. The original Tofu was a lot of people's beginner keyboard. You know, after you got rid of the GK61 trash, Kbdfans has been steadily supplying keyboards for the hobby since I've been here, and they've been improving their offerings and their quality year after year. The Tofu 2.0 is a great example of that.
We have here the success of the Tofu, which sold over 40,000 units since its inception,
but has now been updated to have all of the modern fixings. We still have some sharp edges because it's the Tofu way, but you have your seamless side, you don't have pingy sounds, and you have modern mounting styles.
You know what else is modern? Our sponsor, Factor 75.
Thanks Factor for sponsoring this video. I really like Factor because they're ready to go, nutritious meals that are never frozen straight to your door. I know cooking is getting expensive. Going to the store and buying ingredients, it takes time, it takes money, and it takes a little bit of skill. Some days, especially if I'm busy, I just want to pop one of these in the microwave, getting a nice, well-portioned, healthy meal with macro-friendly ingredients that helps me reach my goals faster. In 2023, I've been trying to lose weight. I unfortunately gained so much weight in the last year. Every single meal has the macros on the back, so I know exactly what's going in there. These are never frozen, so in 2 minutes, you'll have a hot meal ready to go. That looks delicious. I really think that meal prep is the way to go, especially since groceries are going up in price so much. The time savings, the flavor, and the health benefits are all gonna be worth it to grab one of these Factor meals. Because even though it's low carb, it's still pretty satisfying and pretty filling. That's good. You gotta check them out. Go to factor75.com, use code ANDV50 to get 50% off your first box. And hopefully all of us can reach our health goals this year. You have a truly modern keyboard for the start of 2023. Let's get into it. The look of this keyboard is clean, with a large brass weight. And the original Tofu was a single piece case. This is a 2-piece case. There's still an homage to the original case because the side profile still has that signature look. The colors are amazing, and this red is perfect for a copium corn. It also doesn't have any flourishes that would make it stand out visually, but I think the point of the Tofu is to keep it cheap, simple, and easy to manufacture so that the customer can get a well-priced keyboard. In terms of sound, this is where the keyboard really got interesting. Instead of simply a tray mount, modernized with O-rings on top or not, we have 3 mounting styles in this keyboard. Top and bottom are intricately machined so that you can get your choice of top mount, gasket mount via socks, or this new bowl mount, which seems to be influenced by the Giant tadpole mount, but with a different implementation. Let's dive in. We have tabs for the plate to mount to the case, so this is where you get the new design. The top mount is what you expect, screws to the top of the case. This is the stiffest mounting style, which should yield a clean, deep sound. But with all the mounting points used, it didn't really sound amazing from the start. I was recommended to try removing one of the mounting points by the spacebar, which is typically a mod that people do on keyboards. The outfit sounded decent, but the spacebar felt a little bit weak. Typically top mount is stiff, but yields a nice full sounding spacebar. I'm guessing that's why it was recommended that I did not screw that point in. In terms of the spacebar on the top mount, it wasn't my favorite, but the alpha sounded pretty good. The next mounting style would be the gasket socks. I prefer this over pour-on gasket because it's removable and easy. So if you did pour-on gaskets for this build, you would be stuck with that mounting style. You would not be able to do your top mount, switch over to the gasket, and even try the bowl. The gasket socks were using the Tiger 80 Lite, and it does extremely well there, as well as here. Honestly, the Tiger 80 Lite was a pretty strong keyboard. The only drawback to me was, well, 2 things. 1 is it was fully plastic. 2, you were stuck with a polycarbonate plate. So with that build, you can end up getting a pretty quiet sound if you don't use a loud switch. This Tofu mounted with the gasket socks was creamy, gasket as you expect. It's reminiscent of the Jelly mount from the Jelly Epoch, as well as the other L+F keyboards, but it just does so well. It's easy to install, so I like that for a budget-minded keyboard like this. Honestly, modding keyboards is what makes the hobby fun. No, I don't mean those like full jank Play-Doh, carving your own mounts type modding. That's not for me personally, but I do enjoy swapping switches, plates, and mounting styles, and do some minor things like the force break. And I think this keyboard, like the original Tofu, is a great project for that. The original Tofu had a lot more DIY, like silicone, taping, and things like that. But with this, it's just the 3 mounting styles, and overall, it's a pretty solid build. The last mounting style honestly surprised me. It's the one that's in here right now, which is the bowl mount. If you look at the Giant frog and tadpoles, they look like flaccid or stiff, depending on the stiffness that you use. The bowl mount is...
You're kidding me, right? You're kidding me? Like, this is the mount?
So the bowl mount has a nipple, sticks up, holds the plate in place, and the round portion, which is the bowl upside down, holds it in the bottom case. It's freaking weird. But the point of these mounts is to isolate the plate from the top case and the bottom case. And it does exactly that. It was a little bit fidgety to install, so I don't love it, but when it got in there, it changed the game completely.
So after doing a few builds with this, you know, the top mount, the gasket socks, as well as various bowl mounts, and also using the FR4 plate, I've been reading a lot of comments from other people watching other sound tests saying that the board sounds pretty thin. I do believe it's not the loudest board because it's not foamed to the gills, and it's not PE foamed, which ends up making things louder as well. I think my favorite configuration is the bowl mount, and especially using the other plates like the FR4 plate and the JWK switches I put in, it actually makes the sound a little bit more rounded, a little bit louder. So if that's your preference, try other things. So because of the thin sounding concerns, I did go ahead and tape the two flex cuts. Even though I didn't think it sounded too muted in the original build, might as well tape it to see what happens, right? Overall, the aluminum plate configuration, especially the top mount, is probably the weakest configuration. I think the bowl mount is most interesting because it really changes the feel of the keyboard. It's extremely fun and comfy to type on, and actually rivals the leaf spring gasket in the Kohaku. I don't think the sound can keep up with the Kohaku, but also this board is $159 and not a crazy aftermarket price. So you gotta temper your expectations. But to respond to people saying that it sounds thin, it's just a different sound. If you're looking for the foam and PE foam, you can stuff that into here too. It's just not my preference to do that because I want to hear what the board sounds like without all that. And after everything, JWK on FR4 in the bowl mount is actually my favorite.
And you can get it anytime. Well, there's group buy right now, but after that will be in stock. It's honestly super surprising. I think this is peak Tofu. I think Kbdfans honestly accomplished what they were going for here. A modern version of the Tofu, and it's only the beginning. The Tofu 2.0 is more accessible, mass-produced option. The Tofu 2.0 confirms that Kbdfans is definitely coming back strong. Surely they've always had available keyboards and their GBs, but the GB for the Tofu 2.0 and its following in stock is going to be such a solid product. Unlike other vendors, Kbdfans will always restock their Tofu line. Damn, I wish I had something like this when I started the hobby in 2019. Thanks for watching all. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.